Here's the reality. Quantitative easing, when we have the Fed printing trillions of dollars, when we have that money then going to banks and financial institutions and Wall Street rather than to education and helping people. So what happens is we start to create this unfair system where the system is rigged in the favor of the people that already have substantial amount of wealth. We say, oh, we'll give it to them and it'll help everyone else out. It doesn't. Or even when we just hand out money without any level of education or any level of responsibility, it might provide temporary solution to our woes and difficulties in a time of a pandemic, but ultimately can create reliance where people no longer look to themselves for the value in this world, that they're serving others and solving problems. They look to someone else doing it for them. And when we cry for that, we're actually saying, let's rob other people to redistribute to the others. When you invest in something you know and understand and even can contribute to, you're going to have more confidence and more peace of mind, which allows you to be more abundant and productive. Essentially, it allows you to have more energy. See, economics and peace of mind, they've got to be in harmony for any investment to make sense. If you want to invest outside of your expertise and you're like, I hope this thing in crypto works out, and then it doesn't, then you're like worried about it and you're just chasing returns, not knowing what you're doing. This is the kind of thing that leads to poverty, is gambling. It's not really a true tool of the wealthy, although people like to say, oh, the wealthiest people like to take risks. It only looks like risk to people who don't understand, who don't have the same knowledge, who don't have the same investor DNA. There's the other side, people that have peace of mind but don't understand the economics behind the investment. That's a counterfeit of abundance I call ignorance. It's a dangerous place to be. Thinking, oh, I'm putting money in my retirement plan, so that's good, right? But not knowing what investments are behind it, not understanding the fees, not having an exit strategy, not understanding the tax implications. These are all things that lead to a dangerous place where people are now in the later years of their life thinking that they've done everything right and find out it's not going to provide what they wanted. I've seen this happen far too often. Even people that were really wealthy, I would read about people that, had $2 million in their retirement plan, a paid off home, but were only eating 2 meals a day because they're afraid that the money wouldn't last, because inflation exists, because tax hikes could happen, and we're in danger of that right now, and ultimately because of low interest rate environments in the past. The good news for retirees today is interest rates are higher, which means you can put money in a fixed income instrument that has more stability with principal, not risking it all on a volatile market like the stock market, so you know what you have coming in on a regular basis, but at the same time, we've got inflation. So part of my plan is having the economics make sense, right? Because if you don't have the economics make sense or have peace of mind, you're going to lose abundance, and that takes away from your enjoyment of life today. And so often people get in this struggle thinking that this is just the way it is, set it and forget it, trust everyone else. I think that it's all going to work out in the long term. You're in it for the long haul. High risk is part of the plan. All of those kind of philosophies lead to poverty, or they really kind of confiscate wealth. So never sacrifice how you live and feel today for the hope of it's going to be better in the long haul, especially when it comes to investments. Because if those investments aren't aligned with your knowledge, your passion, your control, you're inviting risk. All right, to truly invest rather than gamble, the investment must align with your knowledge, some degree of passion or interest, and especially purpose, because it's about you, the investor, not just the investment. Risk is in the investor. Here's an example. Imagine someone's like, dude, I've heard real estate's a great investment. So they just go out and start investing in real estate without understanding how to manage that risk. They don't know how to get the right renters, or they don't know how to have the right property managers, or they don't know how to analyze whether that's a good property to buy or not, or they don't have maintenance people that can help them, or they don't know how to fix it up themselves. Like, as you start to look at that, it's a really competitive market where there's full-time real estate professionals and real estate firms that are out there buying this, real estate funds. And so risk is in, if you know nothing about that investment, you're more likely to lose. And most people go, well, I know someone that made money doing this, so I should do the same without having the same knowledge. So my plan to eradicate poverty, I've just gone over. I want you to embrace abundance, but it requires we remove censorship. When we tell people how to think, feel, or what to do, and then we tell them, oh, well, this is too difficult, just trust everyone else, that starts to invite scarcity into our lives. This is about taking responsibility to build a more abundant and free world. And it's to exchange with one another, which, I got to tell you, in today's world, truth seems to be less common and more costly these days. I mean, there's so many corporate agendas. There's so many people out there to say one thing to get people to do something, like all these pump and dumps that happen in crypto, all these people that go public just to extract value from the marketplace. I just think, unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation, and there's these echo chambers where people get on social media and it verifies and validates that false belief, and then they see this world as something that is dangerous and overly complicated, and they don't know their place in it, and therefore they don't take action, and they don't understand what their sole purpose is, and that's what starts to lead to poverty. When we think the government can save us, they can't. When we think corporations will save us, they won't. And when we think it's all about effort and hard work, that can mislead us from doing the things that are very best for us. So look, I asked a little bit more nuanced question to ChatGPT, which it was pretty generic without much depth or strategy. I said, now, how do you go about eradicating poverty and embracing abundance? So I'm adding this abundance concept, so it's not just about scrimping, saving, sacrificing, deferring, delaying, and working harder. It's not just about government programs. I thought, what about abundance? And it said it was a complex challenge that requires a multifaceted approach. No shit. Some potential strategies to address poverty include, 1, investing in education, very similar to what it said before. It said providing people with access to education and training that can help them acquire the skills and knowledge they need to find good jobs and improve their economic status. That's a better answer than the first answer it gave in this. It's saying to improve their skills or acquire skills and acquire knowledge. Before it just said to get an education. It said to improve their economic status. Well, the more value you can offer in the world, the more money that will be available to you. Now, maybe that's not totally true if you're working for a nonprofit, or you're working for the government as an educator, or you're working in a kind of a fixed industry. But if we're talking about in the private world, the more people you can impact, or the more deeply you can impact people, dollars follow that impact or that value. So that's my additional part here. It said promoting economic growth and development. Encouraging economic growth and development in countries with high levels of poverty can create job opportunities and increase incomes. That couldn't be more generic. Thanks, ChatGPT. You did nothing. You shouldn't lose all your sleep right now, people, on AI taking over the world. Now, maybe this will happen exponentially soon, but this is pretty rudimentary so far. Something a Google search could have got you anyway. It said, number 3, reducing income inequality. Now, I agree with this. Income inequality can contribute to poverty, as those at the bottom of the income distribution may not have the same opportunities to improve their economic status as those at the top. Policies such as progressive taxation and targeted social welfare programs can help reduce income inequality. Oh, now we get to where I disagree. Policies such as progressive taxation and targeted social welfare programs can help to reduce income inequality. Look, here's why income inequality exists. Here's the reality. Quantitative easing. When we have the Fed printing trillions of dollars, when we have that money then going to banks and financial institutions and Wall Street rather than to education and helping people. So what happens is we start to create this unfair system where the system is rigged in the favor of the people that already have substantial amount of wealth. We say, oh, we'll give it to them and it'll help everyone else out. It doesn't. Or even when we just hand out money without any level of education or any level of responsibility, it might provide temporary solution to our woes and difficulties in a time of a pandemic, but ultimately can create reliance where people no longer look to themselves for the value in this world, that they're serving others and solving problems. They look to someone else doing it for them. And when we cry for that, we're actually saying, let's rob other people to redistribute to the others. Now, look, I want to help people that are at a disadvantage. I mean, I don't really make a lot of money doing this YouTube channel. I'm trying to get this message out there. I make more money doing one-on-one consulting. I make a lot more money, doing speaking. But this is part of how I contribute, how I write, how I create, and I enjoy it. But I don't want to be forced to do it. And then I have to do it. It takes away my personal freedom. It takes away my personal passion. It starts to feel constraining. And yet this is what happens oftentimes when we think, oh, let's just have this all go to social welfare programs and let's help a progressive taxation because the rich aren't paying taxes. That's not necessarily true. What's happening is if you're in poverty, you're not paying much in tax, but we have so many taxes out there. You have to pay to eat, to work, to live, to buy, to sell, and hell, even when you die, and that's not even mentioning the income tax that most people are talking about. So ultimately, we have to invest in humanity, but what it's not talking about, we have to have compassion for one another. We have to learn how to connect with one another. We have to look at what we have in common more than what we're divided in. We have to look to pay it forward. Like I'm doing a kids book because I'm like, let's impact the kids. You know, I have a social mission where I'm giving to programs that help me, like Governor's Honors Academy and things like that. Like, we have to allow people to make choices, and if we just believe that humanity is corrupt and evil and bad and wrong and no one will step up, then we want governments to come in and handle that. What if they're the same people that are bad and corrupt and wrong and everything? Then what we do is we look at reducing income inequality in the wrong ways. I'm here to tell you, fractionalized banking, quantitative easing, all the things in private banking have been more responsible for income inequality. All these crazy things that we've seen with big firms or big Wall Street managers and hedge managers and naked selling and short selling, those kind of things have been contributing more towards poverty and income inequality because now people are in desperate situations, trade their time for dollars, work 2 or 3 jobs, while someone else uses the philosophy of saying, hey, what if we control the money supply as the central bank? Do you understand that part of it is the process and the system and the structure and what happens here that is unfair because it's really only favoring people based upon a caste system or based upon where they're controlling and not telling everything that's going on, or where we don't have punishments for when Goldman Sachs does atrocities to places like Malaysia or humanity and nobody goes to jail. It's about responsibility and accountability. And it's about compassion and caring. That is how we reduce income inequality. And then we bring real skill sets in education, not just education that leaves people in debt $250,000 with a student loan. All right, not that I had any passion about that part. Not that I'm angry, but I'm just saying this is part of the issue here. Now, number 4, it says providing social safety nets. Safety net programs such as cash transfer programs and food assistance can help to alleviate poverty, providing a source of income and support for those in need. I don't need to really go into too much more because I addressed that in the previous point. Addressing systemic issues. Okay, that's point number 5. ChatGPT says poverty can also be caused by systemic issues. No shit. Such as discrimination? Absolutely. We have discrimination, we have censorship, we have racism. There are these things, and a lack of access to resources. Yeah, there's some people that are born into resources and assets and connections, and others that are not, or people that could afford certain things and others that can't. So addressing these issues is necessary in order to truly eradicate poverty and create an environment of abundance for all. Abundance is only going to happen when we have freedom, when we have responsibility, when there's consequence for our actions. What's really missing again here is compassion, people going back and healing traumas and focusing on mental health. When I asked ChatGPT how to create wealth or the habits of the wealthy, well, they said, ChatGPT, the AI said, well, there are many ways to create wealth. Some common strategies include starting a business. Okay, it didn't mention that in eradicating poverty, so they're now making a distinction. There's a big difference between being wealthy and avoiding poverty. That's an important note for all of us to take into consideration. The second thing it said is investing in the stock market. Now, do you think the people investing in the stock market make the most money, or do you think the people that go public and issue an IPO make the most money? That's one thing to consider. And is everyone getting the same returns? Because in my research, the hedge funds are making a lot more than the average person that just buys, holds for the long term. It says to invest in real estate. Maybe or maybe not. It depends on your investor DNA. And saving and budgeting effectively. Saving, I agree. Budgeting, I disagree. Because if you automatically pay yourself first, set money aside, build up your savings, you don't have to go and budget if you're not overspending. Now, if you're overspending, I'm sorry. Bad news. You got to budget, and budgeting sucks. Well, look, investing in the stock market, how many stories have come out over years about people just absolutely taking people's funds? I mean, obviously we know Madoff, and his last name was Madoff. He made off with money. We should have known. But people are like, no, he was in charge of the NASDAQ. Great. He got an appointed position so that he could make everybody believe in something that wasn't true. So is there any movie that's good about Wall Street, by the way, that shows that as the place that you should trust? Wall Street, Wolf of Wall Street, Boiler Room, the list goes on. It's always a terrible situation where a few people get extraordinarily wealthy and the masses kind of get a little bit of money. So the next point that ChatGPT makes is saying creating wealth often requires hard work. Now, let's define hard work. Like, if you find something that you really enjoy, that you want to do the work on, you can work long hours, but often people think hard work as manual labor. People think of hard work as trading time for money. And when we get in this notion mentally that everything is hard and it's work, then it starts to become exhausting, and we do the things that we hate in order to live a life that we love one day, someday, that never comes. So I don't like how vague the word hard work is. I mean, we also could use the cliche where people say smart work. Well, yeah, that's better than hard work, because if we think about leverage and scale and more impact and reaching more people and leveraging technology, that could be a lot more effective than just working hard. I know people that work hard and don't make a lot of money because they don't have the right career, or it's not the right situation for who they are as a person. It also says creating wealth requires dedication and discipline. I would agree with those, as well as the ability to identify and capitalize on opportunities. And yeah, a lot of people have a hard time capitalizing on opportunities. Instead, most people get caught up in distractions. They think something's going to be great, so they start chasing it. They get excited about it because they hear about people making money in it. This happened in the gold rush way back in the day. It happened in the gold rush of the crypto era not too long ago. And it starts to sway us into things where we're chasing dollars without a philosophy, without a premise, and without a career, in hopes that we're just going to be like a lottery ticket winner, right? Like it's our lottery that we're going to get that. But the thing is, the people I know that crushed it in Bitcoin were nerds for that type of thing long ago. And then everybody else came in way late because it was part of the culture, it was part of social media. They felt bad about it. They didn't know anything about it, and then they just went and jumped in, and then they found out a lot of that was pump and dump. It was shit coins that had no development teams, or it wasn't sustainable because there wasn't a lot of knowing whether what the story was true or not. So look, it also says ChatGPT to create wealth can also involve taking calculated risks. Calculated risks, like I want to focus more on the calculated side than the risk side. Like calculated risk management. Like what looks risky to one person because you don't understand how they're doing it might be the sole purpose of another. And what is touted as risk might not have been that risky at all because they saw a market opportunity, knew how to capitalize on it, had the right relationships, which I call relationship capital, and the right knowledge around that. So I think that we've overemphasized risk, and we like to tell these stories of someone that risked it all and made it, but we don't hear as much about the stories where someone risked it all and lost it all, which is the majority of the time. So I think wealthy people are actually better mitigating risk. Ray Dalio, who wrote the book, Principles, talks about how much he focuses on risk management. That's what makes him one of the best investors of all time. Yet most people are going, look at this person that risked it all and they made it big. You know what? Sometimes those people end up losing it big as well, but we've already moved on and we're on to the next story. So don't be seduced by that. They also say they're willing to persevere through challenges and setbacks. Here's what makes someone wealthy move beyond challenges and setbacks is vision. Vision is this magnet that can move us forward. Vision is this thing that gives us purpose so that the minutia doesn't drain us. See, if your problems are bigger than your vision, you won't make it past challenges and setbacks. But if your vision is big enough, like, man, I got my ass kicked in 2008, but you know what? I had a big enough vision that I got through that landmine of real estate meltdowns. I learned the lesson, ask better questions. I got up earlier and did a little bit more work during that time, so I was resilient because I thought the message I had was important enough, and the career that I had was compelling enough, and the work that I was doing was connected enough to who I was as a person that it spoke to my sole purpose. But you know what? If I was a full-time real estate investor and that was my entire life, I might not have made it through that challenge or setback. But I knew that other people suffered with, chasing returns, and I knew people didn't know about 9 financial myths, and I knew that people were struggling at saving tax and being more efficient with their money, and that they were hating budgeting, and so I am passionate about that topic, which helps me to persevere. So ChatGPT said, ultimately, the specific strategies and approaches that work best for creating wealth will depend on an individual's goals. No shit. But still, beyond goals, it's about vision. Goals are just stepping stones to a vision. If you have the wrong vision, you're in the wrong container. It's not going to be compelling enough to move you forward. It says that the individual's resources, your mental capital and your relationship capital, and how resourceful you're being willing to be. And it said circumstances. So maybe it's talking about Lucky Sperm Club. Did you inherit money? Or were you born in a third world country? Or were you born with major health challenges that require most of your time? Absolutely, that is one of the things. Like, everyone can be wealthy if wealth is an internal game. It's about joy, fulfillment, and happiness. Not everyone can be wealthy if it's an external game, depending on what country they're born in and if they can ever escape that, if it's filled with tyranny. If you were born in North Korea, the chances of you being wealthy have to do with the family you were born into. But at the same time, there's plenty of countries that wealth can be seen externally with the things that we acquire based upon where you're at. But most importantly, those things won't bring sustained happiness, especially if you're not happy with who you are. If those are masking the insecurities and frustrations you have, AI doesn't know about this emotional shit. It knows about the things that it's regurgitating based upon human error and mindset, that most of this has come from Wall Street or come from banks or come from people that are separating you from your money. Again, seem a little bit pissed off here, but it's just, I'm going to sleep better knowing that there's a long way for this to go. Here are a few habits that many wealthy individuals have in common. I asked that. I put, what are the top habits of the wealthy? And this is the final section of this. And it actually had some decent stuff it came up with, but again, I'm going to pick it apart. It said, here are the few habits that they have. Number one, setting goals. Wealthy individuals often set clear, specific, and measurable goals for themselves, so that's using the SMART acronym here. This helps them to stay focused and motivated and enables them to track their progress. Yeah, how they set goals, what type of goals they set. Again, it's missing. Vision is the container. Goals are the stepping stones to get that. So they have a vision to liberate 1 million people to become financially independent, to plant a seed of hope, connection, expression in the hearts of 1 billion people. That's a vision. Then what are the goals that help you get there? No, wealthy people have a vision that's not already in existence. It's beyond what there's current capability for. That's beyond what we can even see as individuals. And vision is the rarest commodity. Goals are something almost everyone sets that I know. Maybe there's some that don't. So again, it's missing the mark that vision is the key. All right, number two, saving and investing. Building wealth often requires saving and investing a portion of your income. The wealthiest people didn't save a portion of their income. It was they had a radical idea, or they built an extraordinary business, or they disrupted an entire avenue of how we lived before and created a new way of being, a new way of doing, right? So I don't think that, we think of like the icons that were out there, like, what did we hear? Like, oh, you know what? Steve Jobs is just a great saver. He was really good with goals. No, he said crazy shit that we actually saw other people build and bring to fruition. It wasn't even that he was a tactician or knew the technical aspects of it. So it says saving and investing, building wealth requires a portion of your income. Wealthy individuals tend to be disciplined about setting aside money for the future and investing it wisely. This is completely bass-ackwards. No. This gets you to think in the world of contributing, taking money and setting it aside versus investing in yourself. This gets you to think about giving your money to other people rather than funding your own dream. This is all about like being disciplined of saving a percentage of income versus being disruptive and changing the game. So this is not what the wealthiest people do. Like the middle class, that's upper middle class, that lives an okay life, yes, they do this, but this is a rule of the upper middle class at best, not the wealthy, which is unfortunately the place I see with most financial books. Number three, continuous learning. I agree, but not learning just in classrooms. It says wealthy individuals are often lifelong learners who are always looking for ways to improve themselves and their businesses. Notice it says businesses when it talks about wealthy. They're open to new ideas and willing to learn from others. Yes, ask better questions, have a better life. Continue to learn, have a rookie mind at times and say, I don't want to act like I know everything because then I don't learn anymore, and what might I miss during that time? All right, number four, it says networking. Building a strong network of contacts can be valuable for finding new opportunities and building your business. First off, it's looking at contacts instead of human beings. Networking sounds like this shit was written in the 80s. We're in 2023 for crying out loud. I'm talking about relationship capital. I'm talking about building connection with someone. I'm talking about, having catalysts in your lives. That's the deeper part of this. It says wealthy individuals often make an effort to cultivate. Make an effort to cultivate? Did a preschooler write this shit and maintain relationships with other successful people? Okay, thanks, Captain Obvious. What an amazing one. Number five, staying healthy. Okay, I agree. Maintain a good physical and mental health is important for achieving success in any area of life. Yes, wealthy individuals often prioritize their health by exercising regularly, eating well, and taking care of their mental health. That'd be a good one. Manage their time effectively. Yes, wealthy individuals are often good at managing their time and prioritizing their tasks. Because if we understand ideas, it transcends time where we can get exponential results. That's me saying this, not AI. Yeah, if I'm terrible at managing time, it's going to be hard to get anything done, which means, wealthy people are really good at delegating. They're good at finding amazing talent. They're good at executing on ideas, but the right ideas and having a vision. These are things that were kind of missed out on part of this. So, look, we covered a lot today, and going through all the concerns and frustrations and fears that people have around AI and it's replacing human beings. There's a lot of places where Like, this would be a good thing if it could do the more menial tasks so that we can elevate our existence because of that efficiency. But when people are worried about educating themselves and exposing their skill sets and discovering their best DNA, or don't have a vision and they're trading time for money, AI is extraordinarily scary. But think about human connection, think about adaptability, and most importantly, think about creativity. How can we connect with human beings with an actual soul? How can we listen to them? How can we learn from them? How can we grow with them? And then how can we leverage AI to help us to spend more time doing the things that we really love to do so that we're not in an industrial age where it's all about working 7 days a week so that one day when we're 62 or 65, we can finally retire, but we don't even make it that far because we die. We're evolving as a species. We're leveraging and utilizing different types of knowledge. This knowledge has a long way to go, but we're starting to see this very disruptive technology. But here's the thing, you got to know who you are and your sole purpose, and you ultimately have to alleviate the fear and take the time and worry and put it into productivity and relationships, and that will change the game. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you're enjoying these videos, well, there's good news. More where that came from, so go ahead and click through and watch the next video now.